Peeps, what is the fucking beef? Cameron here. Welcome to another episode of the Chef Fit podcast. Can't remember what episode. Recount the numbers. Special edition today. I've got my man.
69.
You know,
episode 69.
underscore slash XXX 69. Now, chefs, today what we've got on the show is a very special man. Very special man to my heart. Dan Fitz. The one.
Appreciate that, Cam.
Yeah,
just
bro.
a regular man. Just a man like anyone else. With a couple of cats.
A spiritual human being. So for anyone to give you a small bit of background, Dan is basically, I will let him introduce himself in a second, but just our connection and how we know each other. Me and Dan are part of something called the 1%. And for any of the chefs that don't know this about me or don't know this about what we do, basically the same way I would coach the chefs, in the same way that I have this tribe and we've cultivated this tribe and we move together, me and Dan are in a very similar group or a very similar tribe called the 1%. And we've been in this game for a similar amount of time, and he has his tribe of men, I have my tribe of men, and we lead them to the best of our abilities, and when we try and coach and we push this whole thing forward. So, you know, we share a lot of similarities, but our time zone is very different. So Dan's currently in Thailand, and he's got a fairly interesting story. So before we dive into the nitty gritty of it, Fitz, just give us a bit of background on yourself, dude, and give me a bit of background on what you do.
So I live in the future. I live in the future in Asia. I'm Australian, if you can't tell. I'll try and speak as clearly and as slowly as possible for you guys in Europe. My career was somewhat normal in regards to fitness. I started off as an in-the-gym trainer. And like any in-the-gym trainer, I kind of worked with everyone. I worked with women, men, kids with basic fitness goals. But as I started to be a little more transparent about who I was and my past experience in life, I started working with troubled school kids. I started working with street kids or disadvantaged kids. I coach people in prison. And that's led me now to ultimately working with men online.
Big time. And like, in terms of what got you to this point, bro, like obviously it's similar to myself, having a lot of gym experience and coaching people in gyms. Eventually I think this path kind of finds you. You know what I mean? I know for me, it was like coaching all shapes and sizes, and I don't know what it was, but something kind of drew me towards. It's like, okay, cool. I know from my own background that I know I can help chefs, and I know there's a serious problem in that industry that I know what I can do. There's definitely something I can do to solve that, you know. And I see a lot of chefs who are lost. I see they've lost their purpose, you know, and their health is in disarray, and as a result of that, their life is in disarray. So for you, man, like what is it that you're trying to help? What is the problem that you're actually trying to solve in what you do now?
Well, I saw it myself, just speaking with chefs. Like I work with chefs on the Gold Coast, I work with chefs in Melbourne, and that lifestyle is absolutely challenging. Like it goes hand in hand with a terrible lifestyle. So I want to help those guys out, man. I'm not wearing a hat, but I take my hat off to you.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's hard to say that I have a passion for destructive lifestyles. I do have a gift though. Men generally open up to me very quickly. People open up to me very quickly. My life, the short version, it was not easy. I grew up with an alcoholic. School was hell for me. I ended up resonating with hanging out on the streets and doing very destructive things, drugs, alcohol, crime. And somewhere along the lines, I kind of saved myself by discovering Muay Thai or martial arts, and then ultimately fitness, which it sounds cliche, but it saved me. It saved me from myself. It saved me from that destructive lifestyle. And I thought, I'm a relatively normal dude, or at least I was. I thought, how did a normal kid become me and then saved by fitness? And how can I give that same change to people? So I reach out to men, or men reach out to me, I should say, that like they know shit's bad. Like you shouldn't be drinking that much of a night time. You shouldn't feel that unhappy in the morning. You shouldn't be that out of shape. your relationship's fallen over, your business is about to fall over, and people resonate with my story. And I basically say, look, if Dan Fitz can turn his shit around, what can we do with you?
Totally. Totally. I think that's a really, really important point to make, though. And I think when we have these conversations, I mean, you would be similar in that way where you have some, I kind of pinch myself sometimes, and, you know, I find it surreal how deep you can go with this. And when you think about the people that we help and what we put out there, the reason that people are able to open up to you is because you've been through it. You know what I mean? And you have a frame of reference for what that darkness actually is. You know, and it's the same thing when you talk to those men, same thing when I talk to chefs, and it's like we'll have a conversation, and guys will, you know, they'll get a lot of things off their chest that maybe they haven't been able to communicate before, you know. And it's like guys who are spending the majority of their wages on whether that's cocaine, weed, and booze. You know, there's no structure. Their relationships are suffering. They feel like they're not being a role model, whether that's in their job or in their family. But the rarity is that you're someone who has been through it. You understand? And whereas I think when it comes to solving these problems that we're talking about, the only people that they seem to, whether that's going to a counselor or going and seeing a doctor about your mental health, whatever these things are, there's never anything relatable. There's never
It's
someone.
so transparent. I mean, with your guys, for example, you finish your shift at 3 a.m., you go on a cocaine bender, you get an hour of sleep, and then you go back into the kitchen the next day. Like, it depends how you frame that. That can be a funny story that you make a movie into, but ultimately, your average man that's doing that, you can say, okay, what's wrong that makes you live like that? I mean, you know, being a chef is hard. You're in that hospitality lifestyle, but a cocaine problem, an alcohol problem, a nutrition problem, they're problems at the end of the day, regardless of your lifestyle, regardless of your career, and regardless of your past.
Yeah, big time. And you think, but I also think it's sometimes it's the nature of what you've been through that leads you to make those choices, you know. And I know for me, the reason I say that as well is because that was fucking me as well, you know. And I noticed myself getting into that trap of like, was this fun for me? Was I using devices like? Is this just me having a good time, or was this me actually
It's
trying
the
to?
raising the self-awareness to be like, oh, yeah, I'm not actually having fun, or these people aren't my friends, or yeah, fuck, I'm not keeping it together.
Yeah, big time, big time. And almost like a way of dealing with pain or trying to escape the fucking pain that maybe we've gone through, or maybe the things that we have dealt with. Like, I think it's also an important thing to note that sure, we've got a frame of reference for what dealing, you know, having that unhealthy lifestyle is like, but it's also having the frame of reference of going through that and being able to figure it out and come out the other side. And I think the issue is, I know for a lot of my guys is, sure, you might have your period of time where you're fucking wild as fuck in your 20s or whatever, but when things settle down and you're in your 30s and your 40s and you're still carrying a lot of that with you still, you know, and that's when that starts to have a reverberating effect, and that's when it starts to become a problem.
It's the open talk about emotion as well. Like, I think at the start of this call, you said, I have a special place in your heart, makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. And I think that's what we do as a society. There's not enough emphasis on acknowledgement, on love, on open discussion of emotions. It's like, I feel bad, I feel good, appreciate your time, that kind of thing. But I can see it. I can see it from being there. It's like, you don't drink a bottle of wine before your shift as a chef because you're okay.
Yeah.
It's getting someone to take the mask off, and that's what I do with my guys. Say, look, I can see from your behavior, I can see from your physique, I can see because your wife left you, whatever. Like, however you want to frame the story, I can see from what you've done, things aren't okay, because that's what I used to do.
Where do you think, have you always been that way? Have you always been that way where you have, like, obviously I know you, and I know you're a very hard on the sleeve guy, and I know you have absolutely zero issue in communicating some fucking dark shit that I know a lot of people would struggle to be that vulnerable about things. Has that always been a thing for you, or has that been a process to get to that stage?
I guess I was fortunate and unfortunate. There's been many periods in my life where I had nothing to lose. So being myself was all I had. And obviously doing what I do, being able to coach and motivate people through my stories, one, it made me quite unique in what I do, but I genuinely want to help people like you do. So I didn't really care too much about the judgment or the stigma or revisiting that darkness if it's going to help someone.
Totally, totally. And what do you feel is the effect of that? What do you feel if you think about like, take an example of someone, let's take a man for an example, who has buried a lot of those things deep inside. Do you know what I mean? And as we're talking about, like, you almost try and escape with bad lifestyle, you know, where you're not willing to face that pain. Like, what is, for someone like that, and for a lot of the guys that you deal with, and I suppose it's a very similar situation for the guys that I deal with, what is the effect or what is the benefit of being able to fucking unveil that and actually face the truth about yourself?
It depends. Like pain is relative. I'll start off by saying pain is relative. Like, you can have been born in the streets of Africa. That's a fucking hard life. Or you can get a flat tire on the way to work, and it's pretty painful. You're not getting to work on time. Like, pain is relative depending on what you're going through. It's all the same. Like, whatever the person's feeling, that's what they're feeling. But obviously, a whole childhood of trauma and abuse and things like that is a little easier to get over. Or sorry, it's a lot harder to get over than a flat tire. So the first thing is acknowledging what has happened. The second thing is, am I willing to unpack this now?
Yeah.
Am I willing to unpack this now? Because if you stop the drinking, stop the drugs, you stop whatever it is. And with my journey or my story, alcohol was the worst. It wasn't the drugs, it wasn't the crime, it wasn't the behavior, it was the alcohol. That was the most destructive thing because of what it did to my body, what it did to my finances. Like, across the board, alcohol would just destroy me. But I drank because I didn't deal with my shit.
That line there, I drank because I didn't deal with my shit. And I think for a lot of us, it's a really, really big thing. And I think I genuinely feel that this is a universal problem. You know, it's a universal problem. I think we're very much conditioned as a society, as human beings, to shell up, to almost build fucking external armor around ourselves, you know, and you never want someone to see a chink in that armor. But the reality for a lot of us is
the stigma and the judgment and the laws. Like, alcohol's, it's quite socially acceptable. It's legal. And a lot of the stuff I talk about, when I was doing it or when in that period of time, like, it was illegal, or there's judgment, or there's so much stigma around what I was doing. Like yes, it's past tense, but past tense or not, like, people are afraid to say, like, it's much easier to say I have a drinking problem versus I have a heroin problem.
Yeah, big time. It's that legal way out, you know.
It's the same thing with the darkness too. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm kind of unhappy today, versus my uncle abused me for 20 years and I'm having a hard time dealing with it. It's like, yeah, that's it. Like, the average person is like, I don't really want to have that conversation.
Yeah, big time. But the unfortunate thing is, like, the thing that you're looking to find is going to be found in the place that you least want to look, you know. And I really, really believe that. And I really feel that in a lot of our lives that we run away from the thing that we're, regardless of what it is, you know, whether that is, if you want to actually live a healthy, happy life where you're, you know, you're in a good headspace and you genuinely feel you're being yourself, chances are you're going to have to face something about yourself somewhere along the lines that you haven't faced. I know this has been a journey.
It always comes out. It comes out in some kind of way. Like this, I did these teachings across the board. Like, let's take Jenny from accounting, for example. I'm working in the gym with Jenny from accounting. She's 120 kilos. She's a big girl, and you don't end up like that by accident. Yeah. And yes, it's one thing to count your macros and understand nutrition, but what I used to do is like, Jenny, why the fuck are you eating yourself stupid every single night?
Totally.
And because I know the darkness, I know pain, people relate to me. Boom, Jenny would just fucking open up, tell me what it is, and I'm like, all right, this is how we're going to start dealing with this now.
Big time. And the issue is, and why I feel potentially that we can be anomalies in what we do, because you're talking about things on a deeper level, but it's like the weight is a symptom of a deeper problem. So like, if you just keep looking for fucking fixes to fix the symptoms or sort the symptom out, it's like the thing that you're looking for is never ever going to be sustainable. You know what I mean? And I really feel that like we need to face something about ourselves fucking first, and the positivity will follow. A lot of the good things will follow. And as I said, it's like that thing you're looking for is going to be found where you least want to fucking look. It's the same thing with disciplining yourself in your life. It's the same thing with taking ownership of your fucking problems, you know?
It's the same thing with your guys though. Like you can say, "Oh, I drink because I'm a chef," or "I eat chips, I'm a chef." It's like, well, that's one thing. But I used to drink a lot, man. When I first started in the fitness industry,
Yep.
almost destroyed my career.
Yep.
And it wasn't because, oh yeah, I like to drink, or people in my industry drink. So I don't drink like that.
Yeah, big time.
It had nothing to do with my job. It had nothing to do with the time. It was, like I said, I didn't deal with my shit, and I would come up with different excuses and reasons about why I did things.
Yeah, totally. Like life is about choices, and that's what a lot of us fucking fail to realize, that life is choices, you know? And regardless of anything else, it's like what you have in your life is as a result of your thoughts and your actions. You understand? And it's like for anyone listening or watching or whatever you're fucking doing, you know, the fact that if you're in a shit situation right now, your decisions have led you to be there, but you've also got to understand that you can make decisions that can pull you out of that. You can make decisions that can get you across the line and put things into a positive. That's the tremendous power that human beings fucking have, is that we can create our own.
Even start on that journey, that's a good thing that you mentioned that. Regardless of the problem and regardless of the pain, this is across the board. This is where people get stuck. You can blame the government, you can blame your past, you can blame your parents, you can blame everyone.
Yeah.
But there'll be no change until you take responsibility for your decisions now. And I get it. Life is hard. It's unfair. Terrible things happen. Totally agree with you. But if you do watch this and you're watching this now, this is a powerful lesson. Before you even start on the journey, fuck your macros, fuck like finding your ultimate career. Until you accept it's on you from now on, you're going to be fucked. You relapse or you still make the same mistakes.
Yeah, big time. And I think that thought is like it's like planting a seed in your mind that sprouts and it feeds into absolutely I know it's completely changed my worldview. I'm trying to think back to when these things actually started happening. When I realized that, you know, I think I'd read a book called Extreme Ownership or something along those lines. I started getting into it, but it's like, it changes how you view your fucking life. And you realize that it's not just a given set of circumstances. It's not just, hey, like we're playing, you know, Texas Hold'em here and I've just given you your 2 cards and that's all you've got to deal with for the rest of your life. It's like, no, bro, we could fucking actually take those cards and it's like, maybe we can make the decision to play this hand. Maybe we can make a decision to wait it out and fucking play another hand. Do you know what I mean? Or you can wait for the river card to get put down. Like, we have choices. And a lot of us don't feel like we have choices. I feel that the problems that society faces today, sure, we live in a time where we're all connected through fucking social media. Sure, we live in a time where, you know, technically we're safer than we ever were because we don't have fucking bubonic plague. But I also realize that we're softer as a society, you know, and I think a lot of this
That's why you need a hard man like yourself or like the train our coach.
Yeah.
To call you on your shit, because you can become an expert storyteller. So I'm working hard, or I'm not drinking that much, or I know what I'm doing. When, 99% of the time you're full of shit.
Big time. Big time. And we live in a fucking age of being outraged. You know what I mean? Like this cultural war, fucking left versus right. I'm offended. I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, bro, like, one, that's a fucking waste of time. It's a waste of time. You're letting shit that doesn't impact you suck the fucking life out of you. You know what I mean?
People don't have to deal with their own shit. That's another thing social media has created. There's so many distractions. It's like, I'm fighting for the left. I'm fighting for the right. I'm doing this. It's like, no, you're taking the attention away from your own shit.
Yeah, 110%. And if you're ever looking, like, the problem is never there. It's never out there. It's never the other person. As sometimes you might feel justified in believing that, but it's never out there. You know, whatever we experience in our life, whatever problems we have, chances are it stems from what we're doing and what we need to do, you know?
Well, this is the ultimate extreme example, but if you find yourself sitting in a prison cell, you can make it like your own hell. You can sit there and get mad and blame everyone else and blame the government and all this. Or you can sit there and simply breathe and be content. Like, all right, I'm alive. I'm sitting here. I can focus on my breath. Like, everything is taken away from you.
Totally.
You always have a choice on what you do in that current circumstance.
Yeah, big time. There's no such thing as positive and negative. I think that's a stoicism. It's like life isn't positive or negative. It's your perception of what you let positive.
I would heavily say being in a prison cell is pretty negative, but you can definitely choose your perception on what's happening
Totally
in the cell at that point in time.
But putting that in context, though, do you know what I mean? Putting that in context, it's like, cool. If you've been in that situation, you understand what true negativity looks like. You understand what true fucking adversity looks like when that's your reality and that's what's facing you. What I'm trying to say.
Well, being able to reframe situations, like you're in a traffic jam, you've got 10 minutes to go 1 hour, like you're going to be late. And it's the worst thing in the world and everyone's a fuckwit. And it's like, if you can simply reframe it, well, I'm not sitting in prison. I have a car, I have a job that I'm going to, be a little late. Like, it's just a matter of constantly reframing what's going on because we're master fucking bullshitters.
Totally. And I think that takes us on to another thing, which is what Dan is saying with that reframing thing and fucking changing. It's how you view, like, your perspective. It's how you're actually viewing your life. And this is tying back into fucking people are outraged by shit and people are so quick to fucking jump the gun and be pissed off and be angry about things as opposed to being grateful and happy for what's happening. It's because it's how we're viewing our life. Like, we're not human beings that I look at, you know, my grandfather went to fight in a war, my great-grandfather went to fight in a war, and I think about what their generations went through, and I think about the adversity, and not the true adversity. Like, you're literally traveling across the world.
Entitlement generation, like, I accept and understand that I'm entitled to nothing.
Totally.
And that's why I work as hard as I do. And I think people need, instead of getting triggered when I say that, just accept it, because it doesn't matter what country you're in, it doesn't matter your past versus mine. You're entitled to nothing.
Yep, totally.
And that's the good news.
And when you have something, actually be grateful for it. You know what I mean? I think that was something I struggled with for a long time. I was always one of these people that looked at the horizon instead of what the fuck was in their hands. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, life will be better once I get to that. You know what I mean? Life would be better.
It's that waiting to the weekend mentality. I can't wait to the weekend. It's going to be great. It's like you're poisoning yourself. You're doing cocaine. You're spending all your money. You come into Monday. That's hell.
Yeah, man, it's absolute hell.
It's the hell that you put yourself in there.
And it's blinking your eye and then waking up and it's like fucking 5-10 years have gone by. And now I think for me, for my own personal thing and how far, I suppose, considering we've got our own tribes and we've got our own movements, that it's forced me to change how I see things. It's forced me to really reflect on shit. And I remember when I started chefing, and maybe you can attest to this, Dan, that from whether I was working in the service industry, when I was working in gyms, like I was doing fucking 70 hours a week, and I hated what I was doing. I liked training and I liked that lifestyle, but I hated what I was doing in my career. And I always loved the idea of being able to do something online and genuinely help people and get the satisfaction of doing that, whilst also giving me the freedom to create my own structure and create my own routine. And I noticed I had to catch myself at one point along the line. As hard as it is trying to build a movement, I had to catch myself because I realized that I got exactly what I asked for. Which was freedom. Freedom to do my own shit, freedom not to punch someone else's clock. And I realized that I was still looking at the horizon. I was still looking over there and going, it's going to be fucking great when I get to this point. And I had to check myself and go, fuck. Like,
well, people might be thinking, like, what the fuck does this have to do with fitness? What the fuck does this have to do with my health and fitness goals? It's constantly regulating your thoughts, the same way you regulate your finances, or at least I hope you do. You regulate your food. I came from nothing, and even when I got exactly what I wanted, like you said, you get exactly what you want. I had this nice car, and then I complained about how much gasoline costs. I complained about traffic, and it's like, be grateful for what you have.
Big time.
regulate your thoughts, regulate everything in your life, and then you'll be able to make better decisions. I mean, this is what pisses me off with like single dads and guys that are going, I get it, guys that are going through challenges, but it's not about who's done it worse. But I do understand I don't have time, I don't have money, oh, my partner's a bitch. And it's like, yes, well, these are all things. These are all, maybe they're facts, but it's like, why should that stop you from going to the gym? Why should that stop you from reading those 10 pages of a book every night? Why should that stop you from waking up and meditating for 10 minutes? I mean, by doing these things, you're rewarding yourself. By doing these things, you get what you want. The only thing that complaining, being negative, and focusing on stupid shit is doing is taking shit away from yourself.
Totally. 110%. And I think if you can, and for me, I learned that. And it's like, you know, one day I wake up in the morning and I look out the window and the fucking sun is shining, you know, and I put on my fucking gym gear and I get to drive to the gym early in the morning with the sun coming up and I'm listening to fucking Bob Marley on the radio and I come back and I do my fucking videos. I check in on my group and I see chefs who are changing their lives and it's a really tight-knit group. And my fucking girlfriend texts me and tells me she loves me, you know, and I'm like, I would have always taken that shit for, it's like, fuck, life is good, man. Life is good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you, the importance is, it's not that you're trying to turn everything into fucking sunshine and rainbows. It's not that you're doing that for the sake of doing it. It's what that leads to in you. As you just said there, it's like, if you just focus on the negative, you just focus on the shit that's not fucking working, then nothing is going to work, you know?
This is where it does get complicated though, and I'll be completely transparent, even with a beautiful girlfriend, living in paradise, looking fit, healthy, all these things, all the things men want. There are days where I do wake up and I'm like,
negative.
why am I here? What am I doing? And this is where you need a coach. This is where you need a community of positive guys. This is where you need the tools in place to pull you out of that mental pit. Because if there's no one around, if there's no community, if there's no coach, if there's no some kind of mental blueprint, you fall back into that mental pit and then you destroy the relationship. You don't know why you're feeling depressed, so you pick up the bottle to make yourself feel better because that's all you know.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely it all comes undone.
Totally. 110%. 110%. I think.
But obviously because I'm so wise now, I'm like, oh, it's one of those days. Don't do the destructive shit.
Totally, man. Totally. Like when you think about that for a second, you know, obviously we're in the 1% and, you know, you've got, you know, we're coaching communities and I see how much of a fucking revelation it was to see the impact of what happens when you bring people together who are going through similar things, you know, like with the guys that you coach, Dan, obviously, you know, they come to you and they're troubled, they're dealing with this and that in their life. What have you seen when you bring those guys together? What have you seen in your group happen as a result of that community, that tribe mentality?
They build each other. And this is what's fucking amazing. I mean, this is why I'm part of Top Coach, and this is why I use them Trend, but they build each other. Obviously, I have to teach them what to do and show them the groundwork and show them the blueprint. But when they're having good days and the other guys are having bad days, they pick each other up and vice versa. And when the other one's winning, the rest are winning. And you can't find this like anywhere on the planet. Like 90% of society is fucking negative. 90% of society is wasting their time and money. And you need to disassociate yourself from that. But that's the beautiful thing about this. Even with you, I've got all the time in the world for you. I don't usually take an hour out of my time to talk to someone, but you pick me up when I'm feeling down. Always share ideas. Like it's so important, regardless of using a coach or not, to surround yourself with these kind of people, because otherwise it's a negative network, and that's when things get dangerous.
Yeah, big time. I think that whole idea of having that environment, you know what I mean? It really, really, really is. It's like you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And
my life was so bad, but I didn't even know. I thought this is normal. I thought everyone does this. I didn't know until I stepped out, and now I look back and I'm like, fuck, yeah, that was pretty bad.
Mental. But it was no mystery then. You get what I mean? It's like, what did that negative environment, whether that was the people you're around or, you know, where you were from or whatever, like what did that negativity lead to versus how you changed it?
No one wanted anyone to succeed. accepting the wrong things. No one wanted anyone to be happy. It was a lack of education. It was a lack of self-esteem, and it was a lack of knowing there's something else out there, knowing that there's a better way. And I think this is the problem with our school system. This is the problem with our society. This is the problem with, I mean, all the shit that I know now, it wasn't taught to me in school. I had to go seek it out.
Massively. Yeah. Exact same. Exact same. What do you feel is lacking? Like when you think about it, and I'm interested to hear this as well. What do you feel is lacking when you think about a child that grows up in an environment that's quite negative, goes to school, maybe he's a bit of an outcast or whatever? What do you feel is lacking in how we are bringing up a generation of people?
I would say education, but that gets misconstrued when I say that word. So I'd honestly say self-esteem. Self-esteem across, there's a self-esteem epidemic, particularly with social media, Instagram and things like that.
Yep.
Not enough dads said good job, not enough mums said I love you. We didn't support each other enough as a society, and now everyone's fucked and they're all wearing a mask because everyone's so fucking dead inside. Self-esteem. Fix that and you fix a lot of problems.
It's so fucking true. I also think there's a balance with self-esteem, you know, when you're brave, any kind of people. And again, I know it because I see it, and I see guys who come into the program and it's like they're fucking broken. You know what I mean? It's like their will is broken or their soul is fucking. And I go, what the, you know, I wonder what the fuck happened somewhere along the line to lead you to this point, you know? And I think there's
self-esteem and self-love, like the things that I've done to myself, the things that I've fucking done to other people. Who would do that? It's someone that didn't love themselves.
Totally. Big time. I think that's the balance, as you said, between positive fucking encouragement, actually being encouraged to do something positive as opposed to discouraged from doing it. And also a bit of a firm hand as well. You know what I mean? Which I know I got plenty of when I was younger, and I kind of attribute it to a lot of where I am right now. But I know self-esteem is...
If you jump off this video and you go to any comment section on any video outside this one, and it'll be negativity, and it'll be arguments, and it'll be hate.
Yep.
Good luck trying to find a video where there's positivity and support. And it's like, hey man, I don't know you, but hope you do well, and I love you and all the best. Like, you will not find it.
That's so true. You know, and I think it's a very good point. And you see, but that's the thing about social media, man, is that starts to become our viewpoint of the world, because that's all you see. Because someone who does have that esteem and, you know, is in a positive place, they're not exactly going to go looking for that negativity. They're not exactly going to go on to fucking Dan Fitz's video and go, you're a dickhead. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's not what they're looking for. So the only thing that we really see nowadays are people with that, you know, they're looking to vent something that
I do remember being there. Man, it's gone back a long time, like 12, 14 years ago. I was that person. Social media wasn't that big, but I was racist. I was negative. I hated people. Because, and I'm not proud of that, but I know I was. I remember my mindset at the time. And I lacked education, I lacked self-esteem, and I lacked self-love.
Yeah. But I think, man, like, that's why it's so fucking important. First off, hats off for being able to, you know what I mean, being that open and saying that. I think the whole purpose here, if anyone's going to take something away, obviously there's been a lot of shit to take away from the conversation, but it's like, listen to how freely Dan talks about things that are quite uncomfortable about himself. You know what I mean? Like, think about the freedom that actually gives you, you know? And that's something I work on myself, but I definitely see it with him. And it's a very, very obvious thing to see. Like, there's a tremendous amount of freedom when you start lifting the fucking mask, and you start not only just facing it, I don't mean facing like you're fucking slaying a dragon, but like, you know, you become okay with it and you're willing to move forward and not dwell in that. You know what I mean? Not dwell in it. All of us are some of us are throwing a shit dice, you know what I mean? But like,
it's a lot of work, man. Like, as you probably know, the self-esteem, the self-love, the self-respect. Like, I can say all this shit about me. Like, you wouldn't say this about your worst enemy, but I can say it about myself.
Yeah.
Because I know who I am now and I know who I'm not.
Big time. And that's very, very important. And I think for all of us, we need to be on that journey. You know what I mean? We need to get to
You'll
that.
never be the ideal chef. You'll never be the ideal dad until you've accepted your past, the good and the bad, even the shit that you've done. All right, this is who I am now. But if you constantly wear that mask,
It's
you're
fine.
fucked.
It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's not really that much of a problem. You know what I mean? And you deflect and you deflect and you deflect. And if you keep deflecting the truth, that will eventually come around full circle and bite you in the arse, you know? Dan, for the last, if we close this out, man, like, I just in closing, and any kind of words of wisdom you can give for those, and I say men especially, but this is anyone. It's like, what is the message when you think about all that you've been through and how much you've had to grow and the adversity that you've gone through? Like, what is your message for people who are not living a lie, but not living the life that they want to live, and people that potentially aren't facing this truth? Like, what is the message that you're trying to put out in what you do right now? Because obviously you're putting a lot of yourself out there. What's the end game? What's the impact that you want to have?
Ultimately, if I can create a better society, which sounds incredibly hard when I say that, but I just want people to not experience what I did. And I've already done that with hundreds of people, so that's a bonus. But I would like to leave something behind. And more importantly, this is why I do it. The way I got leverage, the only reason I'm still alive is because I got leverage on my actions by wanting to help people, by wanting to become a better coach. That's the only reason I stopped, or at least toned it down a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I say to people, if you want to be a chef, if you want to be a great business owner, if you want to do something with your life, don't be afraid to do it, because the very thing you stop yourself from doing is the thing that will save you. Because if you had a challenging past, if you've had a challenging past, if you want to blow your fucking brains out every day like I did, if you're already struggling, you need something to look forward to. And if it's going to Hungry Jack's as a manager, or Burger King, whatever country you're in, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with paying the bills. There's nothing wrong with working at Burger King. But if that's not what you're here to do, you're always going to drink. You're always going to eat shit. You're always going to do cocaine. You're always going to feel unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Because you're not doing what you're here to do. I'm here to do this shit. That's what I'm here to do, at least for now.
Yeah.
At least to stop me from whatever I was doing. Find out what you want to do. And don't hit me with, Dan, I don't have time. I don't have money. Because I did it. I did it, motherfucker. And I've done it with hundreds of other guys. You need to find out what you want to do and start pursuing it. And then suddenly watch how much discipline and willpower you have.
Yeah. As the sirens close in on us in the distance.
I thought that I should wrap this up. I thought I have to go soon.
It's gotta go to jail. It's gotta go to Hungry Jack's. Yeah, 100%. We've got one fucking life. You know what I mean? We've got one life. So it's like,
I know that sounds cliche, but like ultimately, man, that's what you have to do. Like, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be Muhammad Ali. Like, you don't have to be a fucking online coach. Like, if you want to be a painter, like, fuck, go do that.
Yeah.
But that's the only way you'll ever be happy, and it's the only way you'll get leverage on doing the stupid shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Big time. So with that in mind, folks, thumbs up the video, subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us, 5-star review on iTunes.
No negative comments. No negative comments, please.
Leave loads of negative comments, please. Mr. Fitz, thank you. That was fucking awesome, and it was very, very deep. And I really, really appreciate you, bro. Always really, really good to talk and see your face. Chefs, follow Dan Fitz at Dan Fitz on Instagram. Same thing on Facebook. Check yourself before you fucking wreck yourself. Shotgun bullets are bad for your health. With that in mind, I will catch you all very soon. Mr. Fitz, stay safe, brother. Okay. Thank you very much. Peace.